الحمد لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفوته من خلقه وحبيبه قد بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل دينه حتى أتاه اليقين فاللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته اللهم أحينا على سنته وأمتنا على ملته واحشرنا تحت لوائه وأوردنا حوضه واسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا اللهم آمين. We've been tracking the topic or the theme of unity among the Muslim Ummah and among our community members and our leadership both domestically and elsewhere in the Muslim world. The reason we are tracking the issue of unity because it is the most important issue for the Muslim Ummah to recover from where it has been for centuries now. And that topic is endless, so you could always keep tracking issues related to it. And because we want to keep some focus, we want to address the issue of how do we become the nucleus for our ummah, at least in the United States. Muslims have been looking for a second coming for Salah ad-Din to liberate Palestine, a second coming for Al-Khalifa Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, for prosperity to prevail and for truth and comfort and for the poor to have their dues and for everybody to be taken care of. And the Muslims are looking still for Isa alayhi salam to come to establish justice and to remove all falsehood. And we are still waiting for Al-Mahdi. But we are not looking for one of our children to become Salah ad-Din. We are not looking for one of our children to be Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. And I believe we should. I believe we should. Salah ad-Din grew up in a family that cared to manufacture Salah ad-Din for what he becomes. Along with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, supporting whatever they needed to do. But we need to focus on manufacturing Salah ad-Dins and Umar ibn Abdul Aziz and Umar ibn al-Khattab and all of the great personalities. Now, you smile when you hear this. Yes, we must manufacture those personalities and characters and leaders. But we do not think that this is possible because we know the reality. We know the reality. So today I'm going to focus a little bit with you on what do we need to do to really raise and groom a generation of Salah ad-Dins. Not only one Salah ad-Din, but a generation of Salah ad-Dins, many of them. One of the things we learn is the fact that you do not sow beans and harvest apple. That fact, I hope, is clear for everybody. You only harvest what you sow. What you plant is what you sow. So if you look at your own children and ask yourself, which one of them is ready to be Salah ad-Din, and pick on their good qualities and keep grooming and focusing on those, one day you will have Salah ad-Din, you will have Asma bint Abi Bakr, you will have Aisha, you will have a lot of other great people that we are entrusted We are entrusted by Allah to take care of our children, to raise this kind of generation. So let us focus on what qualities do these people had that we want to have in our children. First, let us agree that by looking for our children to be the great generation, we are giving up on ourselves to be a great generation. And that's a mistake. Because apple grows only on apple trees, right? So unless you work on yourself to become the role model for your children, it is difficult. You notice when Luqman was talking with his son, he himself was a model. He would not tell his son, Ya bunayya aqim as-salah, oh my son, establish prayer, and he does not pray. It just doesn't make sense. Wa'mur bil ma'ruf, and enjoying what is good, and he enjoys what's evil. It doesn't make sense. So our first step to groom a better generation is to fix our generation, to fix what we can. There are some things that are difficult to fix, but we label them as impossible. But there is no such a thing. One of the things you know about people like Umar ibn Khattab and other great personalities in our history is many of them joined Islam in old age. Umar al-Khattab was not a young man, and he grew up in an environment as non-Muslim environment. We use the environment in which we live as an excuse to allow our children to be swept in the culture, and we say that's the environment. If these people caved into the culture, they would have never been great Muslims and great leaders. They used the culture influence as a challenge, not as something good. But we look at whatever is bad in the society, and this is the rule we follow. If it is prevalent, we can do it and we must follow. You don't raise a great generation by raising a generation of followers. You don't raise a generation of leaders if they were raised to be followers. Hence, the Prophet ﷺ says, "Man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum." He who imitates a people, he is one of them. Finished. Which means what? Imitate what is great in America. But don't pick the light stuff, the fun stuff, and say, that's what I want, that's what I see. As if there is nothing great in America except a haircut, a tight pant, and that's all what it is. I believe we can and we should focus on combining what is good in Islam that we have learned and add it to and combine it with what is good in our environment. This is noticed in a hadith by the Prophet ﷺ, in which he says, خِيَارُكُمْ فِي الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ خِيَارُكُمْ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ. Those who were best in the Jahiliyyah pre-Islamic era are your best after becoming Muslims. Amazing. Which means in the Jahiliyyah there were great things that people had. It was not all killing and adultery and all of that. It was also al-muru'ah wal-shahama, manliness and standing up for justice, supporting the poor and the needy and the underprivileged. Those were qualities known among the Arabs in the Jahiliyyah that Islam groomed further and enhanced. So Islam did not come to wipe a culture. That's not the way Islam is spread. Islam came to add to any culture a dose of righteousness, a dose of guidance, to enhance their good qualities and to help them get rid of their own bad qualities. Because good currency always kicks out bad currencies of the market. I'm not talking about Bitcoin and the dollar. I'm talking about the currency of good manners, the currency of good character, the currency of leadership. So Islam, the way Islam is spread is capturing what is good in the community in which they live and adding to it whatever righteous guidance Islam brings forth. We need to look at our society for the good it has and focus on that. And we need to look for what is good in Islam and add it to whatever is good in our environment, so that we do not turn our relationship with our environment into antagonistic relationship. Some of us like to distinguish themselves by focusing on the wrongdoing of others. I believe you could distinguish yourself today from yesterday by improving your good qualities and getting rid of your bad ones. I believe if you see something wrong in the society, your role is not to point a finger, your role is to help change it. Curses never change people. Condemnation never change people. What changes people is the attraction to what is righteous, not the pushing towards what is righteous. One of the approaches that parents use with their children is the focus on action rather than the focus on understanding. So most of us, if not all of us, we would love to see our children pray. But how many of us would love to see our children understand what prayer is about? Why are you pushing them to pray? So they end up complying with your request and expectation when they are young. But once they grow older and they start have a voice, you will hear what is in their head. And most of us are disappointed because of what we hear. Our children do not understand what prayer is about, even those of them who have been praying all their life. Unless they study, unless they are taught, unless they attend the classes in the masjid, unless they hear lectures and knowledge and expand their interest in Islam, they wouldn't know why they are told to do what they are doing. Excuse me. So what we need to do is to shift a little bit of our focus, not all of it, a little bit of our focus on balancing between their action and our desire in seeing them praying, because it gives us satisfaction, right? And their interest to understand what prayer is about. But how do we do this with our children when we adults take prayer for a chore or a daily activity or a duty that we want to get it over with? So we need to change our own understanding that prayer is the joy of the Muslim. Prayer is the source of comfort for the Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ used to say to Bilal, his mu'adhin, "Arihna biha ya Bilal." Give us comfort in prayer, O Bilal. His comfort. And he says, وَجُعِلَتْ قُرَّةُ عَيْنِي فِي الصَّلَاةِ. The cool of my eye is in prayer. Do we have the cool of our eyes in prayer? Or are we in prayer and the cool of our eyes is somewhere else? We are in the prayer 5 times a day at least, and we are still busy with other things. So if we are able to change this in us, we are able to impart it to our children and teach them what prayer is really about. To make it easy for everybody, we know that food in the refrigerator can only stay fresh so long as there is electricity supply going on and the engine of the refrigerator is working. So you have the source of connection of energy, which is the connection to the electric source, and you have the engine that has to be working. The example here is you enter into the Salah and your intention should be to get some energy from Allah. And what a source of energy. Allah, Nuru samawati wal ard. It will fill your life with light. It will give you a new vision for what is troubling you, what is making you happy. It will show you truth as truth and falsehood as falsehood. What is right, you will see it as right, and what is wrong, you will see it as wrong. Not only that, it will give you the energy to stand with and for what is right. Very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ. Understood. Establish prayer, because prayer stops you from doing what is wrong, what's indecent, what's a vice. Then what? وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. So here you have Salah and Dhikr mentioned together in the same ayah. And things that may mean one and the same thing if they are mentioned separately, because prayer is the greatest form of Zikr, right? But now that it is mentioned with Dhikr, it means they are two things. Prayer is one thing. Yes, it is full of Dhikr, but Dhikr that comes after prayer is what is intended. Your Dhikr of Allah, your remembrance of Allah after prayer will straighten you up between prayers to become the righteous guide that you want to be for your children. This is very important. So when we talk at home and we talk, God forbid, vulgarity and abuse, our children copy us. When we talk anger, our children copy our angry actions and reactions. When we talk compassion, when we talk love, when we talk spirit, our children copy. So one of the things we need to control also is not how we pray, but also how we talk. But to fix how we talk, we have to also fix how do we think. If you think like a Muslim, you will live like a Muslim. Once you start thinking like everybody else, your life will be different. Your influence on your own family will be different. So the first issue is fix yourself, then work on your children. And I'm not saying you cannot work on both. Most of us can multitask. I can fix my tongue and help my children fix theirs as well. I can fix my attention to my prayer and help my children do the same. I can study to learn what prayer should give me after prayer and teach my children the same. I can fix the concept of justice and fairness and compassion in how I treat my wife and my husband and how I treat my children, then their concept of justice, compassion, and love will also be sown. It will be planted deep in their own roots. So one of the best ways to lead is to lead by example. To lead by example. So we see a lot of examples in the life of the Prophet and the prophets in general who were leading by example. They were not just telling people to do things, they would lead by their own example. We know that our children have their own views of us and the environment in which we live. They think we are old-fashioned, old school, old kids grown old, grown bad. They don't understand. We cannot relate to this society. Do you know why? Because we do not open up a discussion with them on who we are and what the society stands for, what is common and what is different. Because if we do, they will understand that their focus on items that they focus on in this society is just different from ours. They focus on what's fun. We should focus on what's beneficial. So their concept of leading a happy life, as the Quran says, فَلَنُحْيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً, the ones who believe in Allah and do righteous deeds, they will lead a good life. Their concept of a good life is more material than our concept. If we think as Muslims, which means if we use Islam as the foundation for our thoughts, then we will be thinking like Muslims, we will be behaving like Muslims, we will be establishing our relationships with each other and our environment as Muslims. What defines Muslims the most? What defines Muslims the most is what Allah commended the Prophet ﷺ for. He told him, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. حُسْنُ الْخُلُقِ is at the high mark. The Prophet ﷺ told us that there is nothing rewarding on the Day of Judgment for anybody more than or equal to good manners. Nothing equals that. So we need to lead in that campaign that Muslims should lead the world with their manners, with our ethics, with our principles, with the way we deal with people. People we love and people we hate. People who love us and people who fight us. They should see our best manners. This is the high mark. The second high mark is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have sent you but as a mercy to the world. Not only to humans, not only to your neighbors, not only to your family, not only to your friends that you love, but mercy. So mercy should permeate every relationship. It should overwhelm every relationship with love, compassion, and care. We have people, we adults have people that we know who are sick. We don't even check on them. Only their close knit of friends may spare some time and ask. But we do not seek to set up a social strong bond of Muslims, network of Muslims who care. We don't have an organization called Compassionate Muslims. We need to have one. But before we do organization and big stuff, we need to do it here. We need our website to have a section that gives us the chance to be compassionate. If there is a list of people who are sick, homebound, or in the hospital, many of us would love to go and visit them, but we need the tools. So we need Dar al-Hijrah to look for things that turn us around and give us a chance to show our compassion and our love and our care. We shouldn't only show it with non-Muslims. Charity starts at home. We go out and do a lot of good stuff, working with the community for cleanup at Calmore, clinics, doctors volunteer, and all of that, and the food bank, and all of this. But we need charity to start at home. And we need to be deliberate about setting up a system that helps the community show the best of Islam and the best of Muslims. We need the same at home. We need our homes to be homes of love. First for our own, then for our neighbors, then for everybody else. We need our children to learn to visit their sick friends at their home and to follow up calling them and checking on them. This is how they learn compassion at young age. We need them to spare some of their money to donate for some friend who needs a new shoes. So we need to bring those values to bear on our daily life and daily activities. This is how you raise a great generation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to raise a great generation and to turn our generation into a great role model for a great generation. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بعد. How many of you know that this is February is the African month? One young man, two young, three old, one young man. So, on this month, the whole society is commemorating the African struggle in the American experience. And the highlight of this experience is going to be captured with some activities done by Al-Hijrah right here. And I would like to invite you not only to be part of a social activity and a social event, but to turn it into a Muslim event as well. We need our children to know that as the Africans were struggling in the American experience, that African Muslims were at the core and the heart of that struggle. Why? Because it's very important for them. They are looking for heroes. And there are heroes in the African American movement for their own dignity and their own recognition. After all, the African people were only recognized as 3/5 of a human being. They didn't have the right to vote. I visited South Africa in 1988 under the apartheid. And one of the things that really bled my heart is looking at the signs. Park, and then the sign at the gate says, colored only, black only, whites only. Same signs are on buses, same signs on parking spots, same signs you see it on the beach. So the colored, like me and you, and the blacks, like the African Americans and the Africans, they have designated places, and the society dictates separation by law. Islam dictates mixing as a matter of principle and as a matter of manners, as a matter of recognition. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. We have made you into peoples and tribes so that you may get to know each other, to know what is good and what is wrong, to fix what is wrong, help others fix it, and to promote what is right. But separation is never a Muslim thing. Islam spread in the subcontinent, in India and other places, by Muslims who did business in those places, mixing with the community, working with them and showing them the best of Islam. We Muslims feel better off and more comfortable in isolation than in mixing with the rest of the society. How do you influence a society from which you are imposing your own self-isolation? The society, by and large, is welcoming. You know it in your work. People are mostly decent, welcoming, and nice. You will get the bad apple and the good apple, no question about it. But by and large, the society is opening, and when it opens, we should not close. We should not close. We should not isolate ourselves. Our children will not isolate. So if we don't teach them to engage and involve in the society on their own principles, as Muslims, they will engage, but on the conditions of the society. And that will endanger their ability to survive as Muslims. It will engender isolation, it will engender separation, and it will cause very, very serious harm to even their physical safety. The only way is to engage, but on your terms as a Muslim, which means what? With your own manners, with your own good ethics, according to your own principle. You don't eat haram because they are inviting you to eat haram. You don't go dancing with their girls because they want to dance with your sister. So there are certain things that we cannot do as a Muslim by the virtue of our faith, but there are so many other things that we could engage with the society without giving up or reshaping our faith to be different from what it actually is. So we need to help our children engage with the society, but we need to help them understand who they are and what the society stands for. This society stands for two sets of values. The values on which this society was found, which are religious freedom, freedom in general, to be independent, liberty, and your ability to achieve your potential through the legal pursuit of your endeavors. The society was set on the foundation that all humans are created equal. We need to bring those values back. This society one day did not allow usury as a way of dealing with loans and banks. This society one day prohibited alcohol because they knew the danger. They only allowed it to make money and collect taxes. This society did not have abortion on demand, but now it is the law. This society did not agree to vice as a protected activity. We need to bring the society back to the norms it was found on. So we are not injecting something alien in the society, promoting Islamic values. We are bringing America to what made America great one day. It is not the wealth that made America great. It is the power of morality in action. Now, these are separable. We are in Washington, and we hear the voices that say morality and politics do not mix together. We should mix them. There should be no politics without morality. We should take money out of politics, because money and power corrupt anybody. If you have a lot of money, a lot of power, unfettered, you get corrupted very easily. No matter how angelic you used to be, money and power corrupt. Either of them can corrupt, but together, definitely, they do corrupt. So we have to bring some morality to the society in which we live. And Islam is the only source that I know of that can bring balance back to what America used to be. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be actively engaging our society. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك، ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك، ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا، ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا ما أحييتنا، واجعله الوارث منا، واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا، وإذا أردت بقومنا فتنة فنجنا منها يا مولانا غير خزايا ولا مفتونين ولا مبدلين ولا مغيرين. اللهم لا تدع لنا في يومنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا دينا إلا قضيته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا كربا إلا نفسته، ولا مدينا إلا قضيت دينه، ولا سائلا إلا أعطيته، ولا مريضا إلا شفيته، ولا مجاهدا إلا نصرته، ولا داعيا إلا أجبته، ولا ضالا إلا هديته، ولا ميتا إلا رحمته. اللهم آمين آمين. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم، فستذكرون ما أقول لكم وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد وأقم الصلاة.